All right, we are live. Alabama getting ready to face Grand Canyon, the Antelopes. I am Ryan Brown, Jim Dunaway in studio there for the next round. And Little T from the Spokane Arena in Spokane, Washington, with Grand Canyon fans behind her. What is up, Little T? How are you?
I'm awesome. How are y'all? All right, we got
Good.
a band plan.
Yeah, I noticed that. Right as you start talking, that's the rule, right?
Always. But yeah, it's gonna be out.
Wow, look at all those fans, Dunaway. We got a lot of Grand
Yeah,
Canyon fans there. They are
yeah.
excited.
If you watched the game the other night,
Yeah, they're fired up.
we lost our microphone. I think.
I have to be unbiased.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm also about to have Chris Stewart and Brian Passing sitting right in front of me, so I don't think that would be appreciated. Can y'all hear me?
It's a little loud. The band's a little loud. That's okay. We can work through it. Don't worry.
All right. If they keep playing, I'll walk somewhere else.
Okay. They're probably going to keep playing.
I'm not sure she can hear you. I will tell you as we get situated here that Grand Canyon the other night had a huge advantage. There's a lot of Grand Canyon fans that are there, purple clad, and then they had all the people that were Gonzaga fans, just general population in the arena cheering for them because they were playing the rivals from St. Mary's, one of Gonzaga's rivals. So I would imagine there's a lot of Gonzaga fans who will be in there, typical as you get, Brownie, with the underdogs anyway. But there are a lot of Grand Canyon fans up there. They're a basketball school, you know.
Yeah, they are a basketball school, that's for sure. They showed it against St. Mary's the other night. Little T, we can see the Grand Canyon fans behind you. You do not have to give us a video tour. What's the Alabama contingent look like? You seen the Alabama fans sneaking in yet?
The only red I'm seeing right now is San Diego State.
Interesting.
But there are a lot of the only packed section are the students behind me. So I'm expecting this place to get a lot more crowded as we get closer to tip off. But the people that got here early really are the students. And that just so happens to be right behind where I'm sitting.
Yep.
But I have an interesting stat that I heard probably about 5 minutes ago. I was talking to Chris Stewart, and I asked him how he felt about the game, and he said that the last two times.
You're good.
Okay.
No, you're good.
The last two times that Latrell, Reitzel, and Rylan Griffin were playing, and both at 100%. So there have been games that are in between this span that Alabama scored a combined 209 points and won by a total of 38. They both are 100% tonight, but I just thought that was interesting, so I thought I would share.
Yeah, Dunaway, that is, you could see that in the game the other night. We haven't really had a chance to talk. I did a little post game. You were at the Zach Bryan concert. You could see that in the game the other night for Alabama. Just having a healthy Reitzel in that backcourt made a huge difference, especially in the scoring.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you have a healthy team now. That's what everybody's pointing on. I think a lot of people forget that Alabama at one point was top of the SEC in the standings. You know, they were at one point a game and a half ahead of everyone else in the SEC. And then the injuries started to happen. You missed a little time with Reitzel. I think it was 4 games there. Mark Sears was injured a little bit, but kept playing through it. Estrada was injured a little bit, kept playing through it. So healthy, they appear to be as much as they can be. Davin's not playing, but it's as good as this team is going to be health-wise for this part of the year. So it looked good the other night. The question is, can they do it again tonight defensively? You know, they bragged about their defense to you, Taylor, afterwards, and they still gave up 95 in that game.
They did, and one thing that Nate Oates mentioned during his press conference, I think it was yesterday after practice, was that he felt like for 30 minutes they played really, really good defense. And then, near the end of the game, they kind of let up a little bit. I think they probably got a little bit comfortable because of how big their lead was. But he said that they felt like they played like a top 40 defense for 30 minutes of that game. They just need to play that for a full 40 minutes. But the players in the locker room, when they were asked what they need to do to continue on throughout March, they all said defense. Like, they're all so aware, and I'm sure it's because a lot of everyone's talking about their defense, but every single one of them said we have to play good defense.
Yeah, especially against this team, Brownie, that cuts and slashes so well. We'll talk more about them as we go on, and I know you're going to drive us through this. But before we get too far in to this broadcast, I want to mention Autograph real quick. Autograph's our presenting sponsor of all our NCAA tournament coverage, and they're the reason we have Taylor up there in Spokane. All you have to do is go shoot that QR code in the corner there, or you can go to your app store, download it, and all you do is use the promo code TNR, your email address, and TNR. It's absolutely free. You pick your favorite team, and then it works that way where you've got a full slate of stuff queued up for you every morning. Every time you turn on the app, there's stories, there's podcasts, there's post-game press conferences. It's all with the Autograph app. Email address, promo code TNR, and it helps us out, and you will enjoy it 100%. Before we get back to basketball, what have you done with your day, Taylor? It's a late tip, 3:07 out there, your time. What's your day been like in Spokane so far?
I tried to sleep in, which has been a little difficult. I got breakfast. I tried to prepare a little for the game, learn a little something, because I have not watched the Grand Canyon play a basketball game this year, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But then I got something to eat, and now here I am.
Yeah, there you go. So Taylor has basically eaten. That was her answer to you. That way she's eaten a lot. Let's get some comments from the people that are watching us right now. Thank you to Autograph Code TNR, as Jim said. We're going to be with you for about another 15, 20 minutes here, getting you ready for Alabama's tip-off with Grand Canyon in the round of 32. Michael points out, guys and girls, the Crimson Tide with this lineup, with a full lineup, was the first place team in the Southeastern Conference. It started to slip away from Alabama with a couple things. I think the schedule, it accelerated Dunaway. They started playing tougher teams, but they did that without Reitzel. So with him back in, that Michael is correct factually in what he says there. This was the lineup that had Alabama in the lead in the SEC before it kind of started to slip away from them.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, that people forget at one point Alabama was the team everyone was chasing in the SEC. And then by the time we got to the end, and then you had the loss in Nashville to a hot Florida team, a healthy Florida team at that time, everyone was down on this team because so much of the end of the season was a downward trajectory. And Nate Oates and people around Alabama kept saying, man, if we can get healthy again, we can get back to where that was. And we sit here now with a chance for, if this team as a slim favorite, 5.5 points, can beat Grand Canyon, they're back to the Sweet 16 again for the third time in 4 years. But this won't be an easy game today. Grand Canyon, as I said, only a 5.5 point favorite, and they took it to St. Mary's the other day. And St. Mary's has the number 2 defense in the country, coming in. And at one point, Grand Canyon went on a 15-1 run, and they beat them 75-66 the other day. So this Grand Canyon team's got some players. They got a player that'll play in the NBA. They're well coached by the Drew family, and this will be a tough. It's not a name brand opponent for Alabama, but this will be a tough game for the Tide to get back to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, again, as Jim said, mybookie.ag, 5.5 point favorite Alabama is going into this game today against Grand Canyon. Little T, you were in the locker room for the media day yesterday. A loose team. This is a team that was very loose. Your guy Nick Pringle that you flew out there with, he looks as loose as anybody.
They are very loose. It's a very good way to describe it. I feel like they all just seem like they're having fun. It's not very uptight, but when asked about the difference in these tournament games and just even conference games for the regular season, they all say, like every play matters, every possession matters. So it's interesting to me because they're all so aware of obviously the importance and magnitude of all of these games, but at the same time, they do seem very relaxed. They don't seem like UAB was the other night. They seemed a little. It seemed like the stage got the best of them for part of the first half. They seemed nervous, a little bit overwhelmed, and I do not think that that's getting to the team at all. And another thing that Chris Stewart mentioned earlier was, um, obviously there's a large home crowd for Grand Canyon, or it's going to feel like a home game for them. But he said, think about the road games that Alabama's played throughout the season. I mean, they're playing some of the toughest environments in college basketball, so this shouldn't be different or anything new for them. But he said also they got killed in all those games. So he
That's
said
true.
how they react to that. It's not like it's anything new, but those games didn't go well. But then going back to Latrell Reitzel and Rylan Griffin being 100% healthy, who knows? But this crowd is loud. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm trying to mute my microphone while I'm not talking, so the background noise is
No, you're doing perfect. That's perfect. Keep doing that.
I'd love to know real quick. Is that court side in the media seats like we said in Nashville, or do they have you sitting literally in front of their student section at the end line there behind the goal?
No, I am court side. I'm
okay. So you're court side. So
yeah.
yeah, so those students are not in the official student section. Then those are fans that are down the court. Okay, that tells you a little bit more because they got the pep band and a few more students at the end, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, the band is here.
Yeah. Do they know the tip is like an hour from now? The band, I mean, they're going to run out of songs, little T.
Well, they're going back and forth. They'll play something, and then the Alabama band will start playing something. Then there'll be like 5 minutes of a little bit of quiet. But the Alabama band's a little further away.
Yep. All right, Dunaway, I wanted to add this. Landmine Believer adds not just the guards, but Nelson in the starting lineup, too. Again, he points out the 14-2 mark you're talking about, but he also talks about how the defense at that point in KenPom went from 101 or whatever metric you want to look at. They're all pretty much the same. 101 to 48. It fell off after that, but that was before the Reitzel injury. Kind of the lineup Nate Oates liked the best is when he's able to go small with those 4 guards and Nelson, which is what he'll be able to play tonight against Grand Canyon.
And they sort of stumbled into that. If you think back to the win over Auburn at Coleman Coliseum, there was a foul situation early on that forced the 4-guard Grant Nelson down to the 5 lineup. And I've talked to Stephen Pearl about that once or twice, about how that was sort of a change in that game when they went to that lineup, and Alabama liked it so much that they stuck with it. And that is a potent lineup. But I think Nick Pringle will have to have a good game. I mean, Gabe McLaughlin, he had 12 points, 11 rebounds against St. Mary's the other day for Grand Canyon. And that team had 9 blocks. So, they've got a little size. Gabe McLaughlin is he's a physical player inside. So you don't want to get Nelson's, as I've said all season long, late in the year, he's had problems with fouls. So I think Nick Pringle would be big before it's all said and done today too. But I'm with you guys. I like the 4-guard lineup with Grant Nelson, but I think there's a place for Pringle to have a big game today too, and need to if Alabama's going to advance.
A reminder, Autograph bringing you the show tonight and all Little T's coverage from up in Spokane. Autograph app, easy to download. It is absolutely free. Just enter your favorite teams. They give you the content you desire from those teams all in one spot. You don't have to go search for it. Autograph gives it to you. It helps us tremendously. If you download it and use code TNR, if you're an Alabama fan watching this, getting ready for the Tide to play, Crimson Tide heavily featured there at Autograph. You get a ton of content. Code TNR when you download the Autograph app and get started with that with code TNR.
Just one more point for little Taylor there, just so she knows the folks behind her there. From what I'm told about Grand Canyon, if you ever pay attention to party schools, Arizona State and Arizona always rank really high. Grand Canyon are the kids who party too much to get into Arizona and Arizona State. So 2 of the biggest party schools in the country, and the kids who party too much to get into those schools go to Grand Canyon. That's the kind of fun-loving guys you have behind you there, Taylor.
Yeah, they seem like a rowdy crowd. I don't know if beverages are being had. I literally walked in and but I'll talk to them after we get off, and I'll see what's going on. Yeah, they're loud, they're crazy, and they're close to the court. This is one thing. I mean, We talked about how far away the students are in Alabama. This just reminded me of it because they're running towards me across the court right now. They're going to be able to hear the majority of what these people are yelling at them the entire game.
Yeah, well, that's good though. I like the action close to the court there. Now Derry that seems to be looking ahead there. The winner of this one gets North Carolina. He feels good about this one for Alabama. What about the next one? North Carolina. I mean, they had a fight Dunaway on their hands against Michigan State. I think I was talking to North Carolina fan today that I go to church with. He's like, man, the minute I saw that draw come out, I'm like, I know it's not a vintage team for him. I do not want to face Tom Izzo in the second round. You just never want to play Tom Izzo in the tournament.
But you've got Baycott down low. He's so experienced and he's so physical. That'll be a tough matchup for Alabama. But I refuse to talk about North Carolina today, guys. I will yield the floor to anybody who wants to talk about North Carolina because I know that every year we get a team that we don't really hear about a lot. I thought it was going to be Oakland for a little bit. This Grand Canyon team very easily could be sitting there in the Sweet 16, and they'll do a whole week of stories. Hey, the Today Show will be like, hey, the Today Show is in wherever it is, I assume it's close to Grand Canyon, or maybe it's in Phoenix. You just name it Grand Canyon. Hell, it may be in Nevada for all I know. I don't know anything about this school. All I know is they're the Antelopes, and they play basketball. They've got a Drew that coaches them, and they're standing in the way of Alabama in another trip to the Sweet 16. And the point spread is only 5.5. 5.5.
I think it's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's heavy online. I don't know a ton about it. A lot of people are talking in the chat room. Like Justin thinks it might be a Christian university. I don't know about that. I haven't done my study on that. Chris says it is a big online school. I do think that's the case.
Yeah. 101,000 enrollment. So I assume some of it's online.
Yeah. I would hope.
That would be bigger than that would be bigger than Ohio State and Michigan, maybe combined. But Vern Funquist says this. He says, so it must have a religious background because he says, Grand Canyon, think BYU with fake IDs.
That's good. Here's the stat from NH3425. Grand Canyon shoots 46% from the field, 2 points higher than the 44% Bama has allowed all year. And he says that's a good defensive battle. Basically, they're shooting about what Alabama allows. So I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. We talked about it. I'm sorry. We talked about it with Charleston. I said I don't see any way you could keep them under 80. Alabama did not, though. I think they played a better defensive effort. That was 100-70 at some point. I mean, I don't know what kind of point total you would expect out of Grand Canyon where Alabama's in trouble.
Under 80. If you keep Grand Canyon under 80, that's a win for Alabama, I think. But I like to go back and look. Okay, see who they played, and they're 30-3, right? So they lost 2 conference games, and their one out of conference game was to an SEC. They lost one out of conference game to an SEC team. South Carolina beat them 75-68. So they were in that game, a 7-point game there. But look who they beat. 2 out of conference wins. They beat Liberty, not a bad basketball team. We see them in the tournament a lot, 69-64. But they also beat San Diego State, who's still there in Spokane, 79-73. So they've got to win over another NCAA tournament team in San Diego State and a close loss to South Carolina on their resume. So they're in the WAC, so they don't play a great conference schedule. It's one bid league, but you beat San Diego State. That's saying something in my book. Who's still dancing right now? So that's a pretty good win on their resume.
And Little T saw San Diego State the other day against UAB. And the only thing I'll ask you, Little T, because Jim and I both said the same thing when we saw them in Louisville last year against Alabama. It is a basketball team that looks like a football team. That is a big, thick team.
They made UAB look small.
Yeah.
Very. I have a stat before this band every year started playing again. Some of y'all may see this, but Todd Furman, I don't know how much time is left in the Duke game.
They're at halftime.
But he tweeted something out earlier. This is up to date. in the round of 32, the favorites are 11-0 straight up, 8-3 against the spread, but 11-0. The favorites are 11-0 in the round of 32. There haven't been upsets yet.
I didn't know what I didn't know what you were doing last night. I didn't know if you had plans or what, Taylor. So I didn't bother you. But all I did yesterday was make bets at mybookie.ag, and you know I like to play parlays and I like to play the favorites. I won 4 different parlays yesterday playing the favorites. So I know exactly what Furman's talking about. It was winner, winner, chicken dinner all day long. I just didn't want to bother you with sending my usual text. I didn't know what you were doing.
No, I tweeted one this morning. I had a parlay as well, and I loaded 2 more up. That's what I did this morning. I put 2 parlays together. And I will not send results out until they're over because I don't want to jinx myself. But we're looking good right now.
Hey, just for planning purposes, if Alabama wins, I assume back-to-back trips to Nashville and Spokane. You've had enough road, so we can let somebody else go to LA. Is that okay?
Whoever wants to go.
Yeah. I figured your suitcase come off the road at that point, right?
Hey, whatever I need to do. I can be support staff or I can be on the road.
Team player.
I'm alive.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty wild, though, Dunaway, how well the favorites have done. Now, Creighton almost messed that up. They had that weird 13-point double overtime win, but it took them double overtime to win it.
Better known as the back end of a 16 parlay for me.
Yeah, I mean,
I was sitting there, what are you doing? They had 2 guys that were scoring. I was like, double team those 2 guys. Leave those other bums open. I need to come home in a 16 parlay.
The old 13-point double overtime win. You do not see those very often, do you?
Do not. Yeah. And it was one of only 2 games in a 16 parlay. I didn't play the money line. I had Creighton given the points, and I was like, I'm going to lose this -3.5 right here, and it's going to cost me a 16 parlay. But thank God, a double overtime 13-point win, and I slept good.
Already today, Purdue has demolished Utah State 106-67. All the talk that we've done about Purdue being a tournament failure, they have not looked that way in the first 2 games. They have been completely dominant.
Yeah. The big guy is unstoppable, Taylor. And, different styles and everything, but Zach Edey looks really good. Baycott looks really good for North Carolina. And, Alabama just doesn't have that size in this tournament. They have to attack it a little differently. But that's what makes this tournament so great is that little guys can beat big guys, and teams you think are built for March end up getting bounced in the first round. Teams you think maybe can't survive in March, and they're still playing on Sunday. So I think it all sets out pretty good. What's going on there, Taylor?
Is that the CBS guys?
They're needing some noise from the people directly behind me. I was trying to get out of their way. A warm-up update. Latrell Reitzel, I do not think has missed a 3 in warm-ups. And he's turning around, letting these people know right here. He's not saying anything, but he'll turn around. He'll turn around after he hits one to say, I know y'all are watching.
Well, tell him to whisper to him and say, hey, save a few for the game.
Jimmy wants you to save a few for the game.
If I start whispering anything to those players, Steven Gonzalez is going to – he's like, what in the world are you doing?
Marquette beat Colorado 81-77. A pick a few weeks ago from Dunaway. Marquette has moved to the Sweet 16. Duke will. Jim, you mentioned there's always that storyline of the smaller team. It is not going to be James Madison. Duke is smoking them at the half, 47-25. I know Taylor has been moving around and has not been able to watch the first half. Jim, you, I assume, have been able to watch Duke. They cannot miss right now in Brooklyn.
Yeah, 47-25 at the half, and they got out early. Duke looks like a good basketball team, so we're going to have Duke and North Carolina and NC State all in the Sweet 16. Pretty crazy.
After Alabama tonight, UConn plays Northwestern. UConn a 13.5-point favorite on True TV.
We're all Northwestern fans, right? We're all Northwestern fans, right? That's the only way
I don't give a damn anymore. I would have been if Auburn was still in this thing.
I'm just saying that's the only way I get back in the bracket challenge because I picked Auburn is if Northwestern shocks the world tonight. So come on, whatever mascot you are, Northwestern Huskies,
The Wildcats.
Wildcats.
We might be watching a Yale UConn upset next week.
Yeah.
Listening, no disrespect to Yale, but listening to the press conference, I was just working in the area behind where the press conferences were going on, and listening to them talk in the press conference yesterday, like, it re-infuriated me that we lost to them. Every answer was, we prioritize academics. And I was like, I'm about to smash my head against the wall.
Yeah. Were they using words that were too big for you to understand?
Yes. I was like, come on, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I know. I will tell you this.
Not the city. I'm excited for this game, but I needed to get out of that press conference too. Bad.
I was at Zach Bryan the other night. I sent one of the videos to Taylor, Ryan, today, but I got stopped by 2 Auburn fans and 1 Alabama fan who shot videos with me. One thanking me, saying they should build a statue outside of Coleman for picking Auburn to win the championship. And then the 2 Auburn fans, in good nature, not very happy with my landmine. And one of them, I said, but I really believed they'd win it. And he goes, that was the problem.
That's what I pointed out, is the landmines are the ones you truly believe, right?
I really did. I thought Auburn would still be playing right now.
Hey, in the few minutes we have left, we'll circle back and wrap up with Alabama Grand Canyon. I did want to point out, I gave you the UConn Northwestern point spread. UConn favored 13.5. That's a 1-9 game. The other 1-9 game, Houston's only an 8.5-point favorite over Texas A&M on TNT tonight, Dunaway. That's a skinny number for an 8-9 matchup.
Yeah, the SEC, when Auburn lost and Florida lost at the same time, they were 1-5 with that Kentucky, Oakland, and Auburn, Yale losses. Everyone was taking their shots at the SEC. But if you get to the Sweet 16, if Alabama were to, be lucky enough to beat Grand Canyon, and if Texas A&M were able to pull the upset, and you had 3 of the 16, I don't think that's a total embarrassment of a showing in the NCAA tournament. You have a lot of teams they're going to lose eventually.